of course, that's the sense-perceived life. There is deeper life too that is not sense-perceived, but we start with the sense-perceived life. And as we go deeper during our retreat, we will see that the sense-perceived life, although beautiful, is only the surface of reality. But you have to start with that. And it's beautiful. And if you give it your fullest attention, even then you already begin to go deeper than the surface. Because then you sense an aliveness in everything. You can sense that the life in this flower, I'm just making sure it's not plastic. Even if it were plastic, there is some life in plastic too, but not as intense life as in the natural flower. The life that expresses itself through this flower is the life that expresses itself through this form, this body, this mind, and millions of other forms. And so you go around in a state of astonishment, because there's so much that you had not really acknowledged before. It's easier to be astonished here at the multiplicity of life, perhaps, than if you were in, what's a boring place? Well, there are many boring places. I'm not going to name any. It's easier, but even if you're in a so-called boring place, a suburb somewhere, there's beauty there too. You might have to look more. And even if you were in a street without any vegetation, there will still be beauty there too. And there comes a moment when you actually see beauty in everything, even in a simple pavement, a window, the surface of a table. How light gets reflected off objects, the colors. And I also suggest, be aware of the little things, because that brings your alertness up. Big things are fine, that's nice too. Be aware of the little things. And go when you walk around here, in between sessions, you go a bit like a little bit like as if you had just arrived on this planet. In some sense you have, because these surroundings here may be so unusual to you if you live somewhere very different. It's almost as if you had arrived on a new planet. And how would you be if you arrived on a new planet? You go, wow. And you don't do a lot of thinking. You are just there as an aware presence, perceiving. Like a child, before a child learns the names of things, but you're not regressing, you're transcending that level of conceptualization that most humans are trapped in. You're not regressing to the child stage, you are transcending, but as you transcend the conceptualization level, there are certain things that are similar to a child, or that's deeper than a child perceives, because you've been through that growth. You have transcended conceptualization. There's a deeper knowing that the child does not have, but in other ways, there are certain similarities with how a child perceives the world. And it's not for nothing that Jesus said, Truly I tell you, if you want to enter the kingdom of heaven, you must be like a little child. That's a very important pointer. And how is a little child? Before the child can name things, when the child does not happen to be crying, the child is going. He takes everything in without naming it. And there's a clarity of perception. And then the naming stage comes, and then the problems start. Another thing need to mention to be aware of here, I highly recommend that you do not switch on your television if you have one in your room. And if you find that difficult, it means you're addicted. And so if you find yourself going to the TV or the remote and you go, I can't stop myself, that's a good way of realizing that you're addicted. And even more addictive these days are the little gadgets, well, from laptops to pads, iPads and similar devices, phones, which are much more than phones these days, which absorb many people's attention a lot of the time, so much that for many humans, their interaction with reality, 50% or more of their interaction with reality is through a little screen that they hold in front of their eyes. And they live for it. They live for the next Facebook post. So you may find that you are addicted to some extent to that also. I would recommend to keep that to a minimum. The devices, if you absolutely have to, set aside 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day when you actually do interact, or you look at your emails or Facebook posts just to see what other people are eating or what they're wearing. And you can say, oh, that looks great. Or you may compulsively take a selfie of yourself here, look where I am. And then hopefully everybody will feel jealous about you. We may talk about those things a little bit more at a later time, but in the meantime, I would recommend that you break the habitual, if for many of you, what is habitual interaction with these devices while you're here, in order to fully benefit from being here, so that your attention is not absorbed by that, because that really amplifies the mind. Unless you have something that you're looking there that promotes presence. You might see a present moment reminder. I have to remember to put in a present moment reminder. It needs to come up on the screen. It says, put away your phone. We'll have to write that down for the next one. Stop looking at the screen, look at the sky. Oh. What else? Oh, alcohol. I believe you can buy alcohol here, and there's nothing wrong with a glass of wine or beer occasionally, but that's at least how I see it. But it can easily pull you out of presence into unconsciousness, especially if after one glass of wine you cannot stop. If you feel you need one glass of wine to enjoy your meal, fine, fine. But if you're one of those many who cannot, after one they need to have a second, because and then they don't realize it. Before, when they started drinking their first glass of wine, they were totally determined only to have one glass of wine. But by the time they get to the end of the first glass of wine, they forgot that they were totally determined to only have one glass of wine. Say, oh, I might as well have another. And then you're gone. So if you are one of those, don't have the first one. Or beer, if you cannot enjoy the meal without a beer, or you must have your beer before the meal, okay. But if you cannot stop and you must have another one after that, this would prevent you from benefiting from being here. If you can avoid alcohol altogether, it would be preferable while you're here. So that is only, this is not a boot camp retreat. There are retreats like that where you get strict instructions, no alcohol, you're not watching television, you're not going to talk to anybody, you're not going to look at anybody, and we're going to meditate for 10 hours a day. Some of you may have been on that retreat. Now sit and close your eyes. There's a place for that kind of retreat too, if it's right for you. If it's right for you, you've already been to it, or you're going to go to it. So I'm not mentioning other drugs because I don't think I need to here. I don't think you will indulge in those things here. There's something much better than acid or pot, and that's called presence. It's not a drug. It's true that some of these drugs can give you a little glimpse of what it is to perceive the world without the intrusion of the habitual mind. And this is why people who take some of these drugs have an experience that goes a wow experience. And you look at something, you look at a simple object and suddenly see its beauty and aliveness, and you go, wow. And wow, look at that glass of water. I can't believe it. Wow. And the truth is, it is miraculous. And the truth is we don't see it because of the habitual nature of the mind. If you suspend thinking and look at this glass of water, water is an amazing substance, it's a miracle. And what is a glass? It's a solid thing and the light shines through it, it's amazing. It's completely solid, but the light travels through it. And yes, you can go wow without any drug. If you're present, really present. So, and you again do this occasionally. You can do it here. People won't think you're mad. If you do it out in the world, they would think, oh, he must have taken something, or she. But if you go to really appreciate an object, any object, a natural object, or even a man-made object, pick it up, give it your fullest attention, feel it, see it. This mind-made sense of self is also much more focused on the negative than the positive. To be free, you awaken to who you are beyond your history and your life situation.